Hi, good morning. Thank you for sparing your time and joining us today. It's a very intimate panel of three of us, so we're going to have a conversation around the stuff we're doing with looking at supporting EdTechs to move out of India. A quick background, my name is Sunil. I used to run the education business for AWS till about a year back, and a large portion of the EdTech market that we have today was something that I engaged personally over the last 5, 6 years. And interestingly, I've been doing some crazy different things in this organization. Before the pandemic, we actually created something called the China Connect program to get EdTechs to go to China. This is before the economy changed there. And we had 3 EdTechs opening up offices in China. So I have a history of doing some interestingly different things with EdTechs in the country. So we're looking at talking to Ashu and Manish today around the work that they're doing across other geographies. We've actually helped them work with other geographies across the market. A quick round of introductions. Ashu.
Hey, hi all. I'm Ashu and I take care of growth at AppsGods. We started in 2014. It was founded by Mr. Chandrakant Agrawal and Priyanka Agrawal. For the first 5 years, we were a game app development company, and in 2019, for one of our customers' requirement, we moved to AWS. It was an obvious choice back then as well. And since then, our partnership with AWS has grown manyfold. We are currently an advanced consulting partner with them. We are a 300-strong organization. And for specifically Edge and Elemental Services, we are one of the biggest partners with currently consuming 1.2 exabytes of CloudFront every year. Apart from this, in 2023, our organization got awarded as Rising Star Partner of the Year for APJ. And 24, we were one of the finalists for Global Acceleration in globally. So that is what we have done as an organization with AWS. And we have got a couple of products. One, VideoCrypt, which is already listed on Marketplace. And the other one is EduCrypt, which is helping us to take our EdTech solution global. Thank you.
Manish.
So Sunil, I've had the good opportunity of being educated at some of the best higher education institutes in the country, and I did my engineering from Delhi College of Engineering in Delhi itself, and then I did my MBA from ISB Hyderabad. And what troubled me and what I realized was that we have a lot of talent in India, and there are some amazing professors, but at almost every time, I could deeply feel that the tech enablement at the higher education institutes in India was seriously lacking, and compared to what we see at say an Ivy League place or the universities abroad, that was the key differentiator. And that realization led me to start learning Spiral. And the last 20 plus years, I have been working very, very intimately with public sector and private sector universities and state boards. And today, close to 2 crore students get their assessment scores using our solutions. And I've been, able to see this journey of digital transformation at these places. So when I reflect upon, the question about going to a different geography and, how it is for an EdTech. So I think the first thing is that we come across with a mission to change the Indian landscape. And then that provides a great degree of advantage in moving out. And with AWS, we are able to do that with far great ease.
Interestingly, right, many of the EdTechs in India have a very large revenue line outside of India. Like, I think Quizzes is one example that I can think of, who is doing some really crazy large work in the US teacher economy, right? The question to you really is that I think AppsQuad's now opened in Malaysia, right? That's where you opened right now.
Correct.
Can you just walk us through the complexity of opening up in Malaysia and what you're doing there?
Sure. So where AWS is going is a strong part of our GTM because it really helps us to bring down cost of acquisition of customers. So when AWS was opening its own region in Malaysia in 2024, we were aware of it, and during that point in time, we were reaching out to the AWS team in Malaysia. So the public sector team helped us to connect with the distributor over there. And from there on, we realized the requirement of what they had for their digital policy, where they're currently framing the next 10-year policy from 26 to 36. And in that, education is digitally, digital education is a great part of it. Now, keeping that in mind, we are now connecting with the local vendors over there who are connected with the unis or the government, and we are showcasing a solution EduCrypt over there. So that is one aspect of what we are doing in Malaysia as of now, and recently, because of this partnership and because of the validation of marketplace, it has helped us to connect with many solution providers over there.
Okay. On EduCrypt, right, do you have a quick 30-second view what it does?
Sure. So EduCrypt currently in India is holding a substantial amount of market for customized app development EdTechs. So any EdTech who is looking for a customized solution and looking for a third party, EduCrypt is the solution. And the similar outlook of it is available globally. So that is where we are reaching out and providing them this AI-enabled platform where it helps us to give local solutions globally.
Okay, okay. Manish, for you, I was thinking about the work you're doing around assessments, right? And when you go to other geographies, it's not the same as India. It's more complicated, right? Or India may be more complicated, right? Depends on how you look at it. So can you just walk us through a couple of things that you've seen very different from the Indian market? First of all, how large is the business of assessment right now from a numbers perspective?
So I think India is more complicated. I mean, India is complicated on number of dimensions: the cultural diversity, the geography, and the expectation of frugality that one looks at the Indian market, that takes the challenge to a next level. Having solved that, for example, the proctored assessment bit. So when the COVID hit and one was looking at proctored solutions, and a lot of higher education institutes included were looking for that, and therein one realized that the price points globally versus what we are able to deliver, that provides us with a distinct advantage. I mean, a mind-boggling advantage, and that's only because we have built it grounds up with that frugality concept. So that complexity, when you have solved it, and then you look at another geography. So when we move to Thailand, we at that moment, that becomes a big advantage. What we were able to offer to them, they were really amazed. They actually came back and said that what you're doing over here. They visited 2 or 3 universities. Their Ministry of Education delegates came over here, and the kind of feedback that they got, for the scale at which they need to leverage compared to the scale at which they could see over here. So that, there was no pilot anymore in their mind. Otherwise, they were looking at, we will take things, then we will do a pilot, and then we will roll out. Immediately, the whole plan changed, and they said, we'll go for straight rollout. So that's the advantage we could get by, leveraging the scalability, and, the whole thing which they could see demonstrated in front of them.
What's the largest number of assessments you've done so far, single sitting?
So in a single setting, close to 2 lakh students taking a proctored assessment spread across a geography. And the biggest challenge we faced was, because this is proctored, so AWS recognition needs to, play a big role there. And all of these students come in the last moment. So even the identification of the student in the last 10 minutes, you can imagine that 2 lakh students trying to enter an examination hall in 10 to 12 minutes flat. So that's on per second basis, it would come to like 400 hits on the API on a per second basis. So that's not an easy game for anybody to even imagine. And that's the kind of scale that we are able to now operate on.
A question on going to new geographies and the complexity of languages. You mentioned Thailand, Malaysia. How do you handle that? How do you address those challenges? Ashu?
So to handle these challenges, we do have local educators, but if there is content which is produced globally and then you are trying to adapt it for local market, we use AWS services like Transcribe, Translate, and Poly. So with Translate, it helps you to, as the name suggests, translate. and Transcribe and Poly would also enable you to give solutions to the local market. Also, we have seen use case of AWS Comprehend in this because it helps you to give the local data specifically according to the region. So that has also helped when we are pitching a solution over there.
A little bit too much of AWS, so it's not part of the design, but I'm going to make sure we reduce that as much as possible. Manish, go ahead.
So I think there are two aspects to the language. One is, of course, being able to become comfortable with the customer and be able to communicate there. I think that one needs to rely on local partners and a local team. Without that, I don't think it would be at all possible. On the tech front, yes, definitely the interface, the language that the interface needs to be delivered on, or some of the content. The bulk translation is now kind of automated, and then it goes into moderation. But again, for the moderation, we had to rely on, given the sensitivity of the language and what it actually could connotate into. So we had to rely on experts and SMEs to be able to vet it. So that's the route which we took.
Okay. I'm going to move to another pet topic that we've been talking about on Gen AI, and the DeepSeek coming in and the cost model is changing radically, right? DeepSeek, by the way, is available on AWS Bedrock. It's from the advertisers. Okay, so quickly questions for you all. When you look at data analytics and AI, how are you looking at using that when you're looking at evaluating new markets to go to? Manish, both of you all. Start off with you, Ashu.
Sure. So again, I'd be guilty of using AWS, but it's AWS SageMaker, which is on cards for us. That is what we're going to do for this market, where it would help us with predictive modeling. And what exactly the discussion was, that it is going to enable us to find out if students are getting disinterested, and then if they're dropping off, and then we can have some sort of intervention. So in terms of AI and ML, that is one thing the team is working on.
Okay, Manish.
So for us, the integration with QuickSight and Q, which was able to give a natural language feel to the analytics front end, that was quite critical from a decision maker's perspective. So, the senior people whom we were able to demo that kind of visual graphics and analytics and the natural language based ability to create on the fly. So that was quite impactful. And if I talk about how we have leveraged the data analytics portion. So during COVID, we had a lot of consumers who were outside the country, and the people who were actually trying out our solutions. So that's something which we could build later on and to approach. So Thailand actually happened from that aspect, that we saw a lot of interest coming in from there for this examination solutions, and that's how we landed up there.
Okay, interesting. So the question I had for both of you again is this entire challenge that most EdTechs face is around identifying the right market to go to, right? Asia Pacific is a massively large market, and now we have presence across 4 of the large regions around here. So we've opened up Thailand last year end, right? So we got a bunch of work happening there. So the question really is that when you identify a new market to go to, what's a typical approach you take on qualifying that market from a market perspective? What do you decide? How do you decide on this market? Manish, for you?
So for me, I have, for choosing any of the markets, usually I have been bouncing it up with the AWS guys. I'll tell you why, because positively on a scale, the ability to spot trends, and the other good indicator was where you are opening up data centers. So that was kind of a front, that if you're opening up a data center, positively you are able to see far ahead into the future that there is going to be huge demand in that geography. So that's been a leading indicator for us, and something that we figured out can be a way to declutter and try to focus on a particular geography. So that's been my approach.
Okay. Ashu?
For us, again, piggybacking on AWS, and apart from that, there are 2 things which we look at. So if it's a saturated market, we tend to not be too gung-ho about it. But if there is an emerging market, That is what we target. The only caveat on that is if the cost of acquiring customer is too high over there, we don't venture in, because eventually EdTech is a growing industry. It's definitely going to grow all across the globe, because EdTechs at the end of the day are complementing what education is in the regular setup as well. So it is going to grow, but if the cost of acquiring customer is too high in global markets, these are the markets we avoid.
Would you have an example where you've seen this work well for you?
Malaysia. So overall, in our interactions so far, we have realized that that's one of the markets which we can really move forward with. There's technological advancement which we have, which we can support them with. And so I could be wrong, but comparing that Malaysia from Singapore, so Singapore being such a matured market, it would be very hard to penetrate it in the cost which we are intending to put in to start with in APJ. However, in Malaysia, it's starting up. Cost of acquiring customer is presumably lesser, and that is what we have felt in the couple of GTMs which we have done in the market and a couple of events which we have been part of. So that is one recent example which I have. We are in the process of setting up in UAE as well. Again, comparing both the costs, we still feel APG was better solution. So it's just an low-hanging fruit for us. So that is one of the things which we look at. And again, globally it is going to grow, but whichever one is the low-hanging fruit, we go for that first.
The low-hanging fruit, okay. Manish?
I don't agree in the same way, because I've been dealing with public sector, and the cost of acquisition is quite high. You need to work on the client for like a year and a half or two, and then maybe you'll get him. But on the flip side, these customers also end up being very, very sticky. They are quite discerning once you've got them, and you're able to deliver even, I would say, 80% to their expectation. They don't want to leave you. And then the lifetime value of that customer becomes a very, very different thing. So for me, it is more about feasibility of able to set up and be able to deliver in that geography. And then the cost of acquisition usually works out towards the stickiness and in my favor. That's how I look at it.
When you say public sector, you mean government?
I mean government.
Okay, perfect. The bell went off. Is that the end of the session? Okay. Nobody briefed me on that, so. Okay, closing comments, quickly. Forget about expanding outside of the country. The question really is around, what do you see as the upcoming trend in EdTech in adoption of AI to solve education's requirement in India? My pet topic.
Right, I'd let you take that first.
So the trend that I see is throw AI at everything. Perhaps not. I don't think it's working out all that well when you throw it at everything. But yes, that seems to be the trend. That bounce it off with AI and let's see what will come. What will happen out of that. So that's the trend.
Okay, Ashu.
For us, for the EdTechs which we work with, it's three things: local adaptability, personalization, and engagement. So if we can keep working on that, and if AI fits in the scheme of things, it would be wonderful.
Perfect. Hey, thank you so much. The AWS team is available here. Please connect with them and have a conversation on how we can expand the business across the region. Thank you so much.